Hi everyone, I know this looks a little bit different than my normal setup. If you haven't already noticed that, I will be doing these videos a little bit differently for a little while. I'm trying new things out as progress. I know the headset is not as clear as mine at my house, but if you have any comments or any feedback, please leave a comment below and I will be sure to respond and take those feedbacks into consideration. Thanks again for watching and hope you enjoy. Hello YouTube, welcome to Swords of Legends Online MMORPG. We have the first closed beta happening this Friday, May 21st at 8 AM. If you haven't been able to get into the beta, you have two ways to get into the beta. The first way is joining giveaways, which you can join mine up above. This way I am giving away 3 beta keys, and I will be announcing the winners via Twitter and sending the messages through a DM on Twitter. So be sure to follow me on there. If you have, and you can also buy the game through their website or on Steam. That will give you access to both betas that are coming out. The second beta will be in June 1st to June 8th. Now that being said, the game is 80 gigs, so if you're still on the edge of buying the game or trying the game out, it is pretty big of a game. So that means you want to make sure you have space and you start downloading prior to the beta starting on Friday at 8 AM. So let's go into what's available in Swords of Legends Online. Let me start off by saying the race and gender for all 6 classes are playable with male and female. There is no limitations at this time, and I don't believe we'll ever see a limitation at all in Swords of Legends Online. So let's go into the classes. The first one is the Spell Swords, which is a range and a melee. The Reaper, which is a range and a healer. A Summoner, which is a range and a healer. A Bard, also a range and a healer, a Berserker, a melee, and a tank, and then the Spearmaster, a melee and a tank. So what this means is, and what this gives you the benefit of, is that if you're playing and you need to switch between being a range or a melee in situations in a dungeon or in a raid, if you go into specific bosses and specific things, you can switch in the middle of not in the middle of fighting where you get to be out of combat, but before you get to the next boss, you need to be range for this boss. Oh, I'm going to switch to range. Well, this person needs to be a healer because their class is better for a healer than you are. Then that makes it different, right? You can switch in between all of this, and that's where it makes it really, really unique. I really like to see this. I'm curious on how this is going to play out, and I never really had a chance to ever play a game that kind of did this, where you can switch in, whenever you wanted and however you wanted. Not this way, at least. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, no gender lock, no class lock. So leveling inside Swords of Legends Online is primarily to get to max level, which you'll be following the story quests. The main story quests are divided into 9 different chapters. They're pretty simple in terms of like what you need to do in each chapter, and they have a nice auto-pathing to help you out. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it will give you enough information to get you going through each chapter and where to go and how to do it. That being said, you're not going to be able to get to max level perfectly depending on how fast you're pushing through each chapter. You might have to do some of the other missions and other quest lines that pop up as you progress through the story, whether or not you need to do some side missions or PvE events. For gearing, I'm happy to say that they've created 2 things that I really like about this game. The first one is be able to pre-configure up to 6 different configurations or sets, gear sets, to help you set up the way you want to play. So if you need PvE equipment, you need PvP equipment, you need different gear score, you need different stats on a DPS versus a tank, you're able to pre-configure up to 6 different sets, which includes the PvE and PvE gear. The best thing about this is that all the gear that you obtain is upgradable and is always accessible as long as you have the items required to upgrade the item. No more RNG, I'll take it! Now for this beta, we're going to be talking about a little bit about their dungeons. We're going to have about, I think, 5 playable dungeons. You're going to have more or less the normal, you have practice mode for anything below level 36 or below max level. You have a normal mode and you have a hard mode. The normal mode is daily. You'll get a limit. It's called a limit drop, a loot drop limit. You get once per day, and then the hard mode is once per week. That being said, I'm not exactly 100% sure what that entails yet, but we have about 5 dungeons that all are from 4 to 10 players that you can enter each of these things into. And they're actually kind of interesting. I'm very curious on how the dungeons are going to play out. I'm curious on how the hard mode is, how the normal mode is, and how the NPC or companions to help you in that battle as well is going to be there. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. One of the things I do like here as well is that the gear recommended level is telling you, if you need level 14, you're going to get higher level gear to receive as loot versus what you're wearing. So if I'm wearing level 15 gear, I'm getting level 35 gear as drops. If I'm level 45 gear, I'm getting level 50 drops. If I'm in hard mode, I'm getting level 60 drops. So it's actually getting, you get better gear for participating in something harder, which is really how it should be. It's nice. It's a nice addition in my opinion. Now, not every dungeon has a practice mode, but everyone has a normal hard mode as well. And just to read off the notes about the dungeon here, we have the recommended gear level. Doesn't mean you're restricted of entering the dungeon, but it's going to be more difficult to complete the dungeon. Possible loot only describes what your personal loot is in the dungeon. Each player will receive items for themselves, meaning that they're not sharing drops, right? Your own loot is your own loot, and you can see what that list is possible as rewards by selecting that instance in the details on the dungeon menu. Now, by the loot drop limit, here is that the drops are not always rewarded by following a successful completion. You can enter the dungeon without any limitation to practice a battle to support other players, but Hunter dungeons only have loot once per day or week, meaning that once you get your loot, you're not going to get any more loot, but you're not penalized for helping other players and you're not blocked from playing it, which I think is a very nice addition. Battle companions are NPC players. They're where the group leader can summon others to NPCs to come help you in completing a dungeon. Now, my guess is these battle companions aren't going to be the best possible solution, but it allows you to play through certain things when you weren't able to find a player. So that's, it's a nice addition. If people want to go solo, they can. I'm assuming that these battle companions are not going to be that strong. But maybe you can upgrade them or make them stronger to help you for these fights. There are 3 PvE events. The first one I want to talk about is Blood Ruvia, which allows you to become a bounty hunter. But instead of killing players, you're actually getting assigned that you need to go kill certain monsters. So that's kind of unique. These monsters are wanted, right? They have a bounty on their head, and your job is to go find them and take them down. So this is kind of interesting. I think that's kind of unique that you have, a monster gets a target, gets something that they need to take down, and it's an interesting mode. It's essentially what we've seen in other games for player versus player, but they've done it for PvE now. The second one is Envy of Turquoise Lantern, where you become a guide for the wandering ghosts, and it's your job to pretty much get them back underground, right? You want to take them back to the underground palace, is where they want to end up. And now, lastly, here we have the heroic events. Heroic events are random events, in my opinion, right? They're just something that pops up on the field. But how they describe it is essentially they're just, as long as you're near them, you can get XP. They're automatically accepted, and you don't have to do anything else except participate in that heroic event, and you'll get XP and things like that. So those are kind of normal and most day-to-day MMOs that we've seen today. For the PvP, there's 5 different types of PvP. Probably one of my favorite, true to any game I've ever played, whether it be first-person shooters to just third-person shooters and things like that. I love Capture the Flag, and I really wish we saw more of it in MMOs. So I'm very happy to see that we're going to have a Capture the Flag mode, and it's going to be 10v10. Next on the list for PvP is Capture the Point. Pretty simple, pretty standard. That one's going to be 15 versus 15. We are getting a Battle Royale mode. I'm not sure how to feel about this yet. I do want to play it. I did try the BDO version of it. Not a big fan of that style. I've never been a big Battle Royale fan. But I think this could be a fun mode to spend a little bit of time on when you want a break of that. And that's going to be 5 players per team up to 6 teams. Now, one of the final ones that I didn't know how to like label this really, because you're facing off of monsters and your opponents get possessed. But the end state is one of the teammates on your team becomes possessed or transforms into a monster, and you have to keep them alive to win. And as long as they stay alive, you obtain ruins to keep healing them. And once you obtain 3 ruins, you win that fight. You win the battle. And that's going to be on 10. That's going to be also a 10v10. And for the final one, which is probably my favorite, is we're gonna have 3v3 arenas. Here we have a full ranking system. And we have full rules, which is kind of interesting. One of the biggest things with the arena is that you can only have a healer or DPS. You cannot select a tank as a role. On top of that, you cannot have more than one of the same class, meaning that you can have one class be a healer and one class be another class be also a healer. So you can't have a Reaper and a Summoner both select healer. You can't have a Reaper, and you can't have a spell you can't have the same classes. You can only have one of each of those, and you can only have one healer, period. And that makes it kind of unique, right? You have to avoid, you can't go full tank, right? You can't just defend against everything, and you can't out heal everything. But you don't, in any situation, 90% of the time, you always want to have a healer with you. So that's always going to be the case. Healer is always going to be a part of the 3v3, more or less. But I'm very excited that they already put these rules in place before the game even started. So that means they really care about PvP. Right? They want this balance. I'm excited for that. I'm not sure about you, but I'm very, very excited for this game. Swords of Legends Online looks absolutely stunning. If you haven't had a chance, again, to play the game in alpha or haven't seen anybody play it, I will be trying to stream it this weekend on my YouTube channel. If you need a beta key and you don't want to pay the money for it, I do have a giveaway going on until tomorrow or Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can join. I will be announcing the winners through Twitter. Make sure you're following me. I will be announcing all the winners and everything like that on that. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. is when the drawing ends, and I will be announcing the winners around 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So keep an eye out on my Twitter page. So that's it for this. Hopefully you got some information around Swords of Legends Online. If you're looking for more information on it, I will leave the links below to the beta notes along with the website to purchase or to read up on Swords of Legends. So if you like the video, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell for when I go live and post any other content. And like always, take it easy.